Hey guys, Bird Yugioh here. So today, coming at you actually with an Altergeist deck profile, but I just wanted to show you guys some more of the decks that I'm working on that are coming up real soon. Salamangreat, of course, Sky Striker, updated versions of both of those. For Hire, actually got a really cool card in last set, so be showcasing you that. And then, of course, a Necros deck. Unicorn came back to 3, so those are all coming up. But today, so yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed. But today we are doing Altergeist. In my list, my top 10, I put it at 2, mostly because Multi-Faker's at 3 now, and that card is just absolutely amazing. But I built a really awesome version here. Super trap heavy, but traps that are very relevant to today's format, and I think you guys will like it. So let's get right into it, starting off with the newly unbanned Multi-Faker. Obviously 3, you always want to see this in every single opening hand, because if you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if it's special summoned, you'll special summon another Altergeist from your deck. Normally it's going to be Siliquidus, but you can do any Altergeist monster that you want. Really amazing card. You can activate it even after like a counter trap, because it's still a trap activating. So yeah, really amazing card. Definitely good to have it back at 3. And then another really good card to start with, especially if you don't open Multi-Faker, is Meluseek. But a lot of times I use it, like especially like going second, if your opponent has some cards on the board. You can attack directly with this card, and then when it inflicts battle damage, you can target one card your opponent controls and send it to the graveyard. So I find I use that effect a lot. But then also, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Altergeist monster from your deck to your hand, except for Meluseek. So honestly, lately with testing and stuff, I've found that I usually don't even have to add a Multi-Faker. It's normally going to be a Marionetter that I add. And Meluseek is a level 1 as well, so you can get it out with 1-for-1, and also get it to the graveyard with Linkuriboh. So very easily accessible. But yeah, like I said, Meluseek, a lot of times I'm finding I'm searching Marionetter, which is actually one of your better normal summons. Because when this is normal summon, you can set an Altergeist trap directly from your deck, and then you can target an Altergeist card you control and an Altergeist monster in your graveyard, send the card on the field to the graveyard, and special summon the monster from the grave. So it kind of just flip-flops the card on the field. But yeah, it's your higher attack one. It's got 1600 attack, level 4. Doesn't really come up too much, but it is a really nice normal summon to have. And then play 2 Siliquidus. You really don't want to have this card in your hand. That's why we only play 2 of it. But this card has a quick effect, so you can use it during your turn or your opponent's turn. You can return another Altergeist card you control. So even one of your face-up traps, you can return that to the hand and target one card your opponent controls and return that to the hand. So it's a really amazing disruption. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can also target an Altergeist trap and add that to your hand. So really awesome card. You're always wanting to special summon that off a Multi-Faker if you can. And then the last Altergeist, just your really good defensive card, Conquery. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, if you control an Altergeist card, so just even just a trap, you can special summon this card from your hand, negate the attack, and then if this is special summoned, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls and negate that card's effects while this monster is face-up on the field. So that could be, like a field spell, or, a trap that they have that's, locking you out of something, some type of floodgate. There can only be one, would be a bad one against this deck. Or sorry, a good one to play against this deck, but very bad for this deck. So all these, I think this is about the only ratio to play these in. I actually, we'll get to that later. I was going to reveal a card that I play, but you'll see that one later. hand traps, because it's kind of a small engine. You got 12 cards in the engine, so you could play hand traps. So I'm going with more budget hand traps, so 3 Ghost Ogre and 3 Effect Veiler. One that I would strongly recommend is Ash Blossom, potentially even over Ghost Ogre, or heck, play 2 of each or whatever you want. But if you can get your hands on Ash Blossom, that's a very, very good card. Everything searches nowadays, so, or tries to add, by drawing. So that's it for the monsters, guys. I really wouldn't change that too much. I think 6 hand traps. Obviously, if you got infinite impermanence, that's a trap and a hand trap. So that's obviously one of the most ideal cards for Altergeist. And then for draw power for spells, we're playing 3 Pot of Desires. So this is the one I was about to say I play earlier. Like I said, even with playing only 1 of these, 2 of these, I've never had it be an issue. Pot of Desires is just basically your way of getting to more traps with this kind of deck, because you play so many traps. Definitely try it out, guys. Obviously, Pot of Extravagance is another one you can for sure play in this deck, and it is amazing. But I don't really have $200 to just drop down on a draw card. So Pot of Desires, amazing draw card, especially with Multi-Faker back at 3. I am totally comfortable playing this at 3, and it has worked wonders so far. So try it out. And the only other spell we play is just 1 for 1. That's all we're playing for spells, so very, very low spell count. Not a problem with this deck, though. For traps, our Altergeist traps, we got Personal Spoofing. I don't know why they didn't put Altergeist in the name of this one, but once per turn, you shuffle 1 Altergeist card from your hand or face up on your field into the main deck, and then you add an Altergeist from your deck to your hand. So that's a very, very easy way of searching out Multi-Faker, or if you want a Conquery in hand, or whatever you need. Very, very good card. And it's a trap, obviously, to get off Multi-Faker's effect, and it's a continuous, so it'll stay on the board. And then we also play 2 Protocol. It's very, very good. The activation and effects of Altergeist cards on your field cannot be negated. And then when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can send 1 other face-up Altergeist card you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and destroy it. So very, very good when your opponent's trying to, activate any monster effect, really. It's just really good protection for you. And the last Altergeist card, Manifestation. It's okay. I didn't, even with playing Pot of Desires, I never felt the need to play a second one. It's good. You target 1 Altergeist monster in your graveyard, special summon it in attack position, you equip it with this card, and then when this card leaves the field, you destroy that. But when this is in the graveyard, you can banish this card and target 1 Altergeist trap in your graveyard and add it to your hand. It's very good, but it's not, it's searchable if you need it. Otherwise, I usually would prefer to see another trap, honestly, most of the time. But that's it for the Altergeist, pseudo Altergeist cards, traps. And we also are playing pretty much a staple now in Altergeist, I feel. 3 Solemn Judgment, negate anything for half your life points. Super, super good. And then 3 Solemn Strike. Obviously, again, absolutely amazing. You're paying $1,500 to negate a special summon or a monster effect. Absolutely amazing. And then for our continuous traps that we play, one of my favorite ones that's been working very well is Rivalry of Warlords. So obviously against certain decks, it's not going to be ideal to play this, but against honestly most decks, especially ones that like to go to the extra deck and link and all kinds of stuff, they're going to be trying to go into different types. So locking them out of that is usually detrimental. So I really like Rivalry of Warlords. You only play really spellcaster types in this deck, so this card does not really hurt you that much at all. The only way I've found it has hurt is when you go into like a Link Haribo, because he's a Cyberse and everything else you have is spellcaster. So you just gotta be careful of that, but otherwise it's perfect for this deck. And then we play such a low spell count. that I just had to play Anti-Spell Fragrance. It just slows down every deck, basically. Every deck loves playing their spell cards, and especially against a lot of even Altergeist that are just dependent on Pot of Duality and their Pot of Extravagance. This is just shutting off their draw power, basically. So they might only be setting 1 or 2 cards, which I think is very easy to deal with. So yeah, definitely these have really helped me out a lot, especially Anti-Spell Fragrance has just been working wonders. We also are playing, kind of in the same vein, Imperial Order. That's just shutting off all spell cards. So very, very good. You're paying life points, but hopefully, you're going to end the match or end the game before that kills you. And then the last one we play, Skill Drain. Obviously, you do have effects that you want to go off, but as long as you have, at least a few cards on board, so that you can, I'd say 3 monsters on board. So you can go into like a Hextia and then have a Hextia pointing to like, let's see, a Marionetter would be nice, because then the Hextia is going to be at 3,100 and then your Marionetter's at 1,600. So yeah, most of the time this is not really going to hurt you. There's an occasion, obviously, here or there where you don't want to activate this, but otherwise it's going to just kill your opponent and hopefully win you the game. So that is it for the main deck. We went with 42, mostly because we're playing Pot of Desires, so I felt completely comfortable going a little over the 40. You don't want to go too high, though, with a deck like this. So extra deck, play 3 Hextia. Other than Link Haribo, this is going to be your main card you're going into. Like I said, it gains attack equal to the attack of the Altergeist monster it's pointing to. And then when a spell, trap, or effect is activated, you can tribute an Altergeist that this card points to, negate the activation, and destroy it. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add an Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. So it's really good. Like I said, if you have 3 monsters on board, a lot of times you want to go into Hextia. It's just a really good, just free negate. Really nice. And then Prime Banshee is okay. It's a Link 3, requires 2 plus Altergeist monsters. You can tribute an Altergeist monster and special summon 1 Altergeist monster from your deck to a zone this card points to. So it's good in that case. And you can also, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target an Altergeist card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Decent. Obviously, if you have a Hextia, you're usually just going to sit on that Hextia instead of going into Prime Banshee. But it's completely up to you. If you want to get another maybe multi-faker from the deck, that's a great way of doing it. And then Link Haribo, definitely at least 2 of them. That's your way of getting your Meluseek to grave, basically. And it's going to just slow down your opponent during the battle phase as well. Really nice card. Almirage, same kind of idea as Link Haribo. Just basically another option other than Link Haribo. And then, that's basically the gist of the cards that you need in this deck. The rest of it is kind of up to you. And so I'm just playing a lot of universal cards. The whole Nightmare package. So I'm playing Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn, and Griffin. They all come up in different cases. Griffin can actually get you a spell or trap from your graveyard back set onto the field. So that's a really good effect there. We also play Trisbania and Topologic Bomber. You can link up into them from the Nightmares into these guys and potentially, either blow up the board with monsters or spells and traps. So those are both just options. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Selene. It might seem weird at first, but and actually with our low spell count, it seems really weird. But it is a really good option, especially if you're playing against a deck, which most decks do, play a lot of spells, and they're going to have a lot of spells in the graveyard. Because when you summon this card with, so you need 2 plus monsters, including at least 1 spellcaster monster. So you can go into like a Hextia, and then Hextia and another Altergeist, you can make Selene. When this is summoned, you'll place spell counters equal to the number of spells on the field and in the graveyards. So, like I said, if your opponent plays a lot of spells, this card is just going to gain a ton of counters, and then you can remove 3 spell counters from your field and special summon a spellcaster from your hand or graveyard to a zone it points to. So that's a way of recurring a monster from the grave. So I found it's kind of cool, a cool little tech that you can play. Definitely with the space that you have in the extra deck, it's worth at least 1 copy. But yeah, that's the deck, guys. Again, this is a budget version of Altergeist. I've really enjoyed it. It's working really well for me online. So yeah, try it out, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.